sunny spaces, smiling faces, happy places. But every sunny space holds a shadow. Behind every smile are sharp teeth, and every happy place has something sinister lurking just below the surface.
Welcome to We Saw the Devil, the podcast diving deep into the chilling realms of true crime. Join your host Robin as she unravels mysteries that have left investigators baffled and armchair sleuths obsessed. Be forewarned, dear listener. We Saw the Devil is not for the faint of heart. Our unflinching exploration will take you to the darkest corners of the psyche and through the unimaginable depths of human darkness to unearth stark secrets to the harsh light of day. Nothing will be left untouched. Are you ready? Are you sure? We saw the devil.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the next episode in this horrible shit show otherwise known as the Chris Chan Saga. I know we're only seconds into the episode, but I'm going to come right out and say it. We actually have some breaking news pertaining to Chris Chan. And I'm kind of heated about it. So 2 days ago on Friday, this past Friday, all charges against Chris Chan were dropped. All charges now have been dropped. Now, I know that in terms of this podcast, we're only in the beginning of our journey through this story. But as I said in the last episode, Chris was charged in August of 2021 with a Class 5 felony of incest. He was 39 at the time, and he was charged with having sex with his 79-year-old mother, Barb. And the big thing about it, kind of like the big bone of contention, the big issue here is that Barb very, very, very clearly was not cognitively functioning. Chris even admitted previously that she had dementia. So was Chris's actions against his own mother, was it non-consensual? Could Barb consent? And it's so wild to me that the charges were dropped, but as you'll come to learn, Chris actually admits having sex with his mother on a recorded call and gave a detailed account of what transpired, including admitting that, well, my mom said no initially, but then she came around. Chris first left jail by court order on March 27th and has been seen all around the Ruckersville and Richmond, Virginia areas at various gaming stores, Walmarts, and so forth. Everyone assumes that he was released to some sort of group home or care facility. Well, this week, he also got back online. He is now back on the internet. The last date of login status for his Nintendo Wii updated. He's also taken back control of his Twitter account. And although he hasn't posted anything, he's liked various posts, including welcome back fan artwork that people are sending him, furry art from the furry fandom, and a lot of sexualized, bisexual My Little Pony fan art. So yeah, we're back here again. Clearly there is no God, and whatever fucked up timeline this is, we are #blessed. I'm kidding. Kind of. In the last couple of weeks alone, his Twitter account has gained more than 30,000 new followers. He now has more than 80,000 followers. And whereas the internet collectively sighed a sigh of relief back in 2021 when he was finally arrested with the incest charges, it's wild seeing people come to his defense now. And I'm sure it was difficult for the DA to get evidence to prosecute, but Chris was in jail for 2 years. He was in jail beyond the sentence he would have actually received. And I get all that. I truly do. Some people are saying he's low risk, and that's partially why the state of Virginia decided to let him go. And I'm sitting here like, low risk? He's been charged with incest. Most likely it was rape. He's hypersexualized. He's a predator. He stalked people, committed vandalism, assault, hardcore assault, trying to run people over with his car, as you'll come to find out here soon. This creature is absolutely going to offend again in some capacity. I bet he'll go right back on his love quest to find his one true sweetheart, and here shortly, it's just all going to be back downhill. Maybe Chris Chan will surprise me. Maybe he finally has received in the last 2 years some form of therapy or assistance that we aren't aware of, and he's just going to quietly exist in his own lane, moisturized, and minding his business. But I highly doubt it, considering he has already liked My Little Pony posts that are like bisexual, like anime porn. I wanted to announce this and also let you know that yes, I am going to continue the Chris Chan series because there is a full and horrifying story here. If for no other reason than just to show you what the state of Virginia put right back into society. So if you live in Virginia, hide your wife, hide your kids. I mean, hell, hide your husband and hide your pets too, because he has clearly already stated that he's not above any of those things. But in any case, let's just rewind our timeline now and continue on from where we left off in part 6. At the end of the last episode, I asked you guys to leave comments on what you think of the story thus far, because as I've stated every time in every episode, I am in constant disbelief that so many of you haven't heard of Chris Chan, and this is the first time you're hearing about it. As I state, there is an amazing YouTuber by the name of Gino Samuel. Please, if you are interested in this case and you super want to go down the rabbit hole, go over to his account, subscribe. He has more than 80 hours, 80 episodes detailing every single millimeter of the Chris Chan saga. Whereas I am covering a lot of it, I am not going anywhere close to as in-depth as Gino Samuel does. I'm so glad that you guys are, I don't think I would call it enjoying the episodes necessarily, but that you consider this as trifling as I do. So some of the feedback I got on the last Instagram post. And apologies if I butcher any of these screen names. Kala Berna said, I am from Europe, Iceland, and I have never heard about this. I am absolutely horrified and intrigued at the same time. I am in the camp of kind of feeling sorry for him despite him being a vile person. Very polarizing feelings here. But thank you for this series. It will be interesting and horrifying to hear more. Oh, honey, just wait until we get to the Idea Guys saga. Little spoiler alert for all of you. It gets way, way, way worse than it already has. Pickstick Party says, I'm British and had absolutely no idea about this story. It's horrifying. Yes, it is. B. Weissbach said, I feel bad for him. It seems that his whole life was a cry for help and no one helped him. I truly believe if he had gotten the needed help, I don't think a majority of the bad things he did would have happened. Also, the trolling is so messed up, while he was egging it on and was equally as gross. None of that needed to happen, and was one of the many reasons why he went down the path he did. I agree with you. The Miss Chris says, I'm from Charlottesville. Loved there until I moved to Boise in 2014 and had never heard of this. I feel strongly that he was criminally abused by people online. I also feel like he is a danger and I would never want him around my child. I wonder if he had not been bullied so hardcore online and if he had real parenting, if he would not have been so obsessed with sex and being vile towards women. The 13-year-old kid? That kid is even sicker than Chris. Did anyone ever intervene and get that kid offline? I completely agree with you as well. First of all, fascinating that you hadn't heard of Chris, because in 2014, Chris, that was like heyday Chris. Like everyone was talking about Chris, trolling Chris. He had been on multiple different TV shows, local news. Absolutely fascinating that you had not heard of him. But I do agree with you. I believe that most of Chris's issues, well, I'll give you my entire spiel right now, try to make it as abbreviated as possible. Chris was born in the early 80s, right? In the early 80s, there was virtually no true research done on autism. It wasn't something that was considered super common and heavily studied. I believe that Chris himself wasn't even diagnosed until he was like 6 or something because he was nonverbal. So he already had that going against him, right? Not a lot of understanding, people with autism mentally slow. Then he had shitty parents. And I'm sorry, Bob and Barb, you'll learn more about them, but they are shitty. Bob was such a narcissist. He just wanted a smart son that he could show off, didn't get it. So he just pretty much washed his hands of him. Barb herself was a horrible person. You learn more about this later on, but anytime Chris would act up, even as a small child before he received the diagnosis of autism, she would start screaming and crying and threatening to kill herself. So Chris grew up in a household with a cold father who was a narcissist, with a mother that couldn't handle anything and constantly threatened to kill herself. Neither one of them got him the therapy that he needed until he was much older. And then they were basically forced to get him into speech therapy. And thank you to user Sirius0714 on Instagram. who stated, when Chris's first school wanted to send him to a special school, Bob moved the whole family to another district to dodge that. Yes, that is actually true. Again, Bob was such a just huge narcissist and couldn't stand the thought that his son was different or not cognitively fully functioning. So he literally uprooted his whole family and moved them to a different school district to avoid putting Chris in a school that would have given him support for special needs. And then finally, Vaulted the Walls said, in spite of being chronically online around this era, I managed to completely miss this happening. Not to make light, but basically, team no one. Chris was a horrible racist predator waiting to happen, but that doesn't make the people who harassed Chris less awful, especially since it wasn't like they did anything but make a bad situation worse. Everyone involved in this sucks. Yes, I completely agree with you. And what's so interesting, I think, and here's the thing, people study Chris in university. They study him in psychology classes. There are courses on him in sociology classes. Like, this isn't just, let's just laugh at the fucked up dude online. This actually grew legs, in a sense. It got to the point where it was so tragic and so awful that people who had trolled Chris previously would stick around for years and try to give him advice and try to get him help. But the problem being is that you can't take trolls who torture you and then suddenly they're like, oh shit, he's bad off. And then, try to kind of steer him on the right path. It doesn't work that way. Like, there came a point where Chris didn't get the help he needed as a child, didn't get the support. He was left to his own devices online, porn, the whole bit, and became a predator. Like, Chris Chan, I'm sorry to anyone who may disagree with me, but I do believe that Chris Chan is a predator. If you recall in a previous episode, he told one of his troll sweethearts that he was willing to have sex with a dog if she wanted him to. And then he went on she was like, oh, well, what breed? And he said, oh, well, collies, I think. Mark my words, it was going to be his mother. And I honestly think if the family had a pet because their pet dog Patty died when Chris was a teenager, but had they had a dog, I think that dog would have been being abused too. So yes, everyone in this entire thing sucks. I agree with each and every one of you, and thoughts may vary. You kind of go from empathy to pity, sometimes sympathy, and then frustration. Why are you doing this again? Loathing, and then disgust. By the end of this, you guys are pretty much just going to be at the disgust phase. So moving on. In the previous episode, we left off with Chris's love quest all but being DOA. He had just discovered that his online love from the mythical country of Mulvania, who he was having phone sex with and sending sexually explicit videos to, was actually a 13-year-old boy, a troll by the name of Blue Spike. Not only that, but the one date he went on with an actual girl in real life named Emily ended with the man in the pickle suit coming and whisking her away. The entire interaction was horribly awkward and orchestrated. Chris was saddened by it all, but in true Chris Chan fashion, he didn't stay down for very long. He just didn't care and never learned his lesson. The entire interaction was horribly awkward. And this is made incredibly clear when Emily, the girl he went on the date with, called Chris the next day about the date. And here's that audio.
What's up?
I think we need to talk.
Okay.
Because it's not me, Chris, it's you. And, I was just thinking about yesterday. I really didn't appreciate you touching me all the time.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't appreciate you, constantly touching me, okay? You, just met me. And you were touching me constantly.
Oh.
I mean,
sorry.
You should never do that to a woman on, one that you just met. And especially when you try to kiss me, okay? That's not right at all.
I'm sorry, I was a little nervous. I was nervous a little bit.
Why would you try to kiss somebody if you're nervous? I mean, I thought, people would get nervous and not try and kiss somebody. But anyways, let me tell you about...
Anyway.
You'll probably never hear from me again, Chris, because the Pickle Man was just he was a perfect gentleman, okay? He, like, took me out on a date, he paid for my movie, and, like, since he kept his hands off of me, he got, like, a little extra from me, and that could have been you, Chris. Okay, so, and then he took me to meet Clyde, and Clyde's, like, a perfect gentleman as well, so I'm gonna be living in this mansion from now on.
Anyways, did you get back to West Virginia okay?
Yeah, well, I didn't exactly go back to West Virginia. I'm gonna be living with Clyde now, with Julie and Blanca and Sarah and everyone else, Chris. Do you understand? Like, since you don't understand, like, all the women that you've mistreated in the past, they're living with Clyde because he is rehabilitating them.
I see. Well, I don't know what to say.
Do you have anything else to say?
Well, this is all I can say is, I'm sorry if I mistreated you, and if it felt like I did wrong.
Because I don't know what you have, like, against, like, these men in the pickle suits or whatever, because he was just a guy in a pickle suit. I don't understand, like, what was so, like, threatening about him. And apparently you, like, called the cops on him. I mean, what did he do wrong? How are you gonna report him? Saying that, like, a guy in a pickle suit, like, stole your date?
Yeah, well, I've had the past, where, the guy in the pickle suit posed as, Blanca.
But, I mean,
and,
you, like, didn't know this guy, and you're already passing judgment on him, and you're already, like, you passed judgment on Clyde, okay? Clyde's, like, the nicest guy ever, okay? He is, like, he is gonna be, like, taking care of me for the rest of my life. Because he is loaded with cash. Hence why his last name is Cash.
I see. Alright, well, if that's what you want, I can't, force you out of anything else, so,
But Chris, you should be careful. But you should be careful, Chris, on, like, all the women that you encounter. You better make sure that you treat them properly. Do not touch them on the first date. Don't try to fucking kiss them. And, you know, you'll have no problems. But if you do, you know, the pickleman will come and take them away and take them to Clyde, and he's going to take care of them for the rest of their lives as well.
I see. Alright. Okay. Alright, well, you take care of yourself.
Now, there was one girl who was hanging around on Chris's different sites, and her name was Rachel. She said that she was in college and had a dorm mate, Ivy, who also watched his videos and was a huge fan of Sonichu. Ivy would occasionally come to the chats and just observe. She didn't really engage with anyone. When Chris and Emily were starting to schedule their date, Chris was also beginning to flirt with Ivy and even told her that maybe she would be his sweetheart if things with Emily didn't work out. Well, obviously that didn't. Also around this time, the phone number to Chris Chan's house was in wide circulation on the internet. Like, the Chandler household would receive constant calls. His parents, Bob and Barbara, knew that there were a lot of trolls trying to fool Chris, so they devised a plan. Bob was pretty much a hateful old coot who wanted no part of any of this, so anytime a call came in from some unidentified person, he would answer, he would then hand them off to Barb, and Barb would vet them before allowing them to speak to Chris. She had a list of like 30 questions that she would ask the caller. Everything from, what's your name, your parents' names, best friend's name, what city and state were you born in, where do you currently live, what's your occupation, what's your favorite color. It took almost half an hour to go through Barb's questions before she would let someone go through to Chris. So Ivy randomly called the house one day, and she passed Barb's inquisition with flying colors. So she made it over to Chris. Now, mind you, at this time, Chris had, other than just seeing Ivy in the chat and whatnot, he had never really truly interacted with her. So she asked that Chris do a shout out in a video to her and her friend Rachel. Now, his first attempt, he misspoke her name. So Ivy called the Chandler household again and asked Chris to do it over, which he did. Now, this is while he was about to go on a date with Emily. So he and Bob went to the date at the mall, sat in the food court, talked to Emily. Chris and Emily go to walk around. Man in the pickle suit comes out of nowhere, whisks Emily away, and they go see a movie together. So on the way home from that date, when Chris and Bob arrived at home, there was a group of sex workers standing outside their home, like prostitutes, courtesy of an online troll. Someone had quite literally gone online, I don't know from where, and ordered a bunch of sex workers to the Chandler household. Bob called the police to get everyone to leave. And this was the thing. At this time, trolls were trying to get Chris enraged by Clyde Cash. You know, it's obvious that Blanca, Julie, and Emily weren't living in a mansion with Clyde Cash. But in Chris's mind, they were. As she was vetted by Barb, Ivy and Chris began to frequently speak on the phone, and their relationship became serious fairly quickly. He posted the following video to YouTube where he tells Ivy that he loves her.
Hi, Ivy. I love you. I can't stop thinking about you. Anyway, for qualifications, I could say, good morning. Wish you a happy day. Or as you go off to sleep, I could say, good night. I'll be in your dreams. I love you. Ivy, Ivy, love you, Ivy, Ivy, Ivy. At least you're not the poisonous kind. Seriously though, I love you, Ivy. I believe you all around. Keep a happy thought.
Chris would go on to post multiple videos for Ivy, including the next clip. And guys, I'm going to set the scene for this clip, okay? Okay? Close your eyes. Picture it. You slowly open your eyes and they're kind of fluttering open. You're in a dark, dank basement. A single light bulb is hanging down above you, flickering. You see a tape recorder that says play me, so you push play. This is the audio that comes out.
Hey, Ivy. I'm doing this video for you. Oh, we are going to have so much fun together when you and I are together. You know, my mommy and I, my family and I will come and meet you at the airport. And, you know, your choice, so take you to your hotel or bring you back to my house. I mean, you know, we'd be hanging around so much and sharing so many fondful memories. And, you know, I know a few good places in Charlottesville, you know. I'll take you there. We'll get some good things to eat. We'll hang out. We'll have so much fun. Well, let's have a good time together. You know, I know a place that serves some great smoothies. Yeah, it's a cafe in Charlottesville. Good place. Serves good smoothies. And, you know, we can enjoy a movie in the theater or at home or watch a television rerun. Family Guy! Family Guy! Or I Love Lucy, or I got the entire series of Gilligan's Island. And we can make some music together. On Guitar Hero. You can sing. I got a microphone. I'm playing my drums. Yeah. And you know, I look forward to the eventuality of you and me having our sex time together. I'll do my best to pleasure you and keep you satisfied. Miss Biz Ivy, just for you. Just for you. I know a number of good positions and massages. I love you so much, Ivy. I love you. I love you. Talk to you later, sweetheart.
Except that setting wasn't a basement. It was Chris Chan in his room in a black formal suit speaking directly to Ivy. And I think that's one of the creepiest pieces of audio that Chris has ever made. So March and April mostly consisted of Chris being in a blissful and carefree state in this new relationship. And one of the most interesting things that Chris did is record a tour of his house. And it came from a really innocent place. Ivy suggested that he upload a full tour of his house. And obviously, Ivy was a troll, and Ivy did this just to get a closer look at Chris Chan. I mean, Chris Chan truly was the bug under the magnifying glass from the internet trolls, right? Every single thing people did was to get more information about Chris Chan, like anything. And so the mother lode would have been a look at his home, because up until that point, all you really saw was Chris's bedroom in the background of every single video. And Chris did the full tour. He recorded it. And y'all, there is shit piled almost up to the ceiling in every single room in the house. Like, serious mental disorder amongst his parents there. The sink has stacks of dishes. Every room is filled with lamps and boxes and knickknacks and newspapers. Sadly, Chris's room actually appears to be the most picked up and clean room in the house. It's sincerely tragic and speaks volumes about, the mental health of his parents. The house sincerely belongs on an episode of Hoarders. His parents, Barbara and Bob, they hadn't been sleeping in the same bed for decades. Like, they were basically divorced and pretty much just coexisting. And then there's one part where he opens the door to a room filled with shit, like just absolutely filled. And there's like a sliver of couch free. And he's like, my mom sleeps in here. I mean, it's actually really sad, but just like, holy crap. That was really like a revealing the man behind the curtain moment. It was so bad that some trolls actually contacted the Greene County Health Department. Also around this time, so many people had been following Chris for the few years before. They knew exactly where this was heading. People were reaching out to him and being like, hey, Ivy is a troll. Ivy is not real. Ivy is not real. Here, Ivy is not real. And much like Chris, we're only on chapter 7 and he's already done this 15 to 20 times. He's not going to listen to anyone. He's not capable of it. So he went full-fledged into his sweetheart dance with Ivy. He wouldn't even respond to people. He would just post videos to YouTube telling people to, quote, back the fuck off and get out of his and Ivy's relationship. For every horrible troll who was there to torture Chris, confuse Chris, use him as humor, at his expense, there were people there who actually did try to help him, keep him from being trolled and so forth, and he would not listen. And do you remember the troll Lord Silly Nipples from the first couple of episodes? Well, he came out of nowhere and said that he had a picture of Clyde Cash, and he shared that with Chris. And this enraged Chris, and then Chris uploaded a series of videos of him breaking or beating up his own toys, pretending they were Clyde. It was ridiculous. A troll then called the Chandler household, and this is the first time a troll actually called and left a voice message threatening to kill Chris and his family. And as a result of that, one night, Chris woke up from a dead sleep. He was terrified that his life was in danger, and he actually self-defecated and then slept under a blanket fort on a couch in his room in the corner for the rest of the night. And that would become a frequent behavior. And because of the stress that he was under as a whole, he began to frequently, to put it crassly, shit himself constantly. He confided in Ivy that his doctor suggested that he wear adult diapers. And after Ivy, of course, went and told all the trolls chipped in and actually bought and mailed Chris a bag of adult diapers. Now, how or why did Chris go to the doctor to begin with? Because Barb was angry about doing Chris's feces-filled laundry. Chris would just go about his business all the time, shit himself, and then just take his jeans off in the middle of the hallway or the bathroom, or he would leave it in the kitchen, just on the floor. And people who have been around Chris at either the gaming place or run into him in tournaments and school and everything said that he had a very, 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 very strong smell of feces around him just all the time. But Chris refused to wear the adult diapers. He called them butt garments and said that they were for children. So he actually refused. Also at this time, Chris's old friend Joshua Martinez becomes active in the chats. Now, Joshua Martinez is someone that Chris knew way early on in their lives there locally in Ruckersville. They actually attended speech therapy together years prior as children. And I mean, at this point, most people who spent any serious amount of time on the internet likely knew who Chris Chan was. An old buddy local to the area definitely also did. And again, this is someone that Chris had known for probably over or about 20 years at this point. He considered him to be his second best friend in life. But Joshua had already actually trolled Chris once before a couple years ago, prior. He set him up with someone by the name of Lori Lopez. I think it's like episode 2, I talk about that entire thing. Joshua was obviously Lori Lopez. And he decided for whatever reason to take his trolling further this time. So he created a fake account for Disney star Vanessa Hudgens and messaged Chris saying that she wanted him to audition for a movie that she was making. Chris believed it, and he also started clearly flirting with her. And in Chris's mind, I'm sure everything was amazing. He had 2 girls interested in him. One was a Disney pop star, and everything just seemed to be going super well. That is, until the end of April, when you guessed it, more leaked audio of Chris performing a gross sexual act. This time, it's recorded audio of Chris having cyber sex with someone he believed to be the movie star Vanessa Hudgens, but it was actually just his old friend trolling him. I'm not gonna read it. It's exactly as you think it is. And that was it. It came out that Chris was having cyber sex with someone. Now, remember, he was supposed to be with Ivy. So having been outed as a hussy and a cheater, Chris began to grovel to Ivy, and she was mad at him. Chris also became more sexual with Ivy, but Ivy was mad at Chris. She'd been cheated on after all, so he clearly had to be punished. And that's, the punishments were, something. We know about the punishments because the trolling group The Miscreants hacked into and then uploaded these videos to the Quickie. So for the first video, Ivy asked Chris to show him what he meant by recycling. And a few episodes ago, I talked about recycling. Chris believes that men have only a finite amount of sperm in their bodies and that you can actually put it back into your body by consuming it. So Ivy demanded a demonstration video of Chris doing it. And he did, utilizing Fanta, the orange soda. And I'm telling y'all that because A, it's a detail, but B, that is all I think of if I ever see Fanta in an advertisement in a gas station. I think of that and I am haunted. In the video, Chris takes a little cup filled with his own semen, tells her that he, quote, masterboarded that out, fills the rest of the cup with Fanta, and then, oh my god, my gag reflex is activating, drinks it. Chris's second punishment was a video of him kneeling naked on his bed and spanking his own bottom. And of course, he sexualized that pretty much immediately as well. The third video was a video of a naked Chris in his bathroom. The camera is fixed on a nasty bathroom. The shower has tile and has grout in it. The grout is black with mold and mildew, like black. It is absolutely disgusting. It looks like something out of a fucking Saw movie. And then suddenly you see a big white ass walk in front of the camera towards the shower. You see Chris as naked as the day he was born, and he asks Ivy for a dance and then proceeds to slow dance in the shower without running water, pretending that he's making out with her. It is single-handedly one of the most uncomfortable things that I have ever witnessed in my entire life. And finally, Chris's final act of penance was stripping naked and putting on one of his adult diapers. Ivy demanded that he write "too hot" for collections on the front of the diaper, and then Chris records himself standing in his room in this diaper. He even tries to turn it into a sexual moment by licking his Sonichu medallion and then winking at the camera. After all of this, Ivy forgave him. So he began to show his love in other ways, like uploading a video to YouTube where he is holding his sex doll Kimmy, which has a taped picture of Ivy's cartoon face on it. It's taped to it. Like a cartoon face is taped on top of his big plastic sex doll. Chris then proceeds to make out with said sex doll while occasionally saying, "I love you, Ivy." Chris talking to an actual sex doll as if it were his real-life sweetheart, that sweetheart being a troll who doesn't exist, and then apologizing to it for cheating on someone pretending to be pop star Vanessa Hudgens is probably one of the most potent visual metaphors for the entire Chris Chan saga. I mean, it's troll, fake person, and Chris doing everything he can to manipulate, be a predator, and so forth. It's just, wow. Chris also recorded a video of himself auditioning for Vanessa Hudgens' movie, and in that video, he runs around his room, he's like, feel my wrath, and he picks up boxes, a chair, he's trying to show his strength, he's making all of these weird sounds, saying made-up words. At the end of it, he strips completely naked, runs around the room screaming random words, and plays with his toys, like children's toys. It's incredibly hard to watch, and that one actually made me quite sad because you really start to realize that he does have the mental capacity of like a 6-year-old. Chris also makes multiple videos directed at Ivy's pet hermit crabs, creating this weird imagined family of him, Ivy, the crabs, and of course, don't forget, their daughter, Crystal. It's also important to note and remember that at this point, the trolling of Chris was a huge ordeal. There were thousands of people watching Chris at this point. Hundreds of people actively involved in trolling him. And by actively, I mean either assisting with the writing of it, the creation of it, the management of it, of the quickie, talking to him, all of it. There were hundreds of people involved in those trolling Chris Chan forums. The Miscreants was a well-known group of trolls who, like an inner-city gang, had an unspoken rule that basically any trolling of Chris Chan was their turf, and that the trolls had to go through them in order to be a part of it. So, at some point, the troll pretending to be Ivy had to have connected with the Miscreants and more or less asked for permission to or agree to work with them. And that's likely where a lot of the content from Chris's email accounts and, all of that, how it got leaked. And here's where it gets a little bit more spicy. Chris knew his old friend Joshua Martinez from their time in therapy, right? In real life person, identified, actual real breathing human being, correct identity. So at the same time as this Ivy relationship, Joshua starts hanging out with Chris and taking him out to dinner. Except he wasn't actually taking him out for dinner. He was getting Chris to pay for his dinner up to 2 nights per week at TGI Fridays. So one time Chris had no money, so Joshua was like, okay, well, I'll just buy my own dinner then. And then proceeded to buy a huge meal for himself and made Chris sit there and watch him as he ate. Joshua Martinez was just an overall sack of shit human being. I mean, the guy went through speech therapy with Chris's kids, so I'm not sure why he decided it would have been this cool thing to troll Chris in real life, but he did. And don't forget that he'd already, again, trolled him with Lori Lopez. Now he created the Vanessa Hudgens persona, an account, and starts uploading Chris Chan's chats with Vanessa onto places like 4chan, Encyclopedia Dramatica, and so forth. So Joshua and Chris start talking about a special edition PSP, a handheld PlayStation gaming console. Joshua told Chris that it was meant for Vanessa and that she would probably really love it, and offered to sell it to Chris for an insanely inflated price. In reality, it was just the same out-of-the-box generic PSP with no special features. But Chris, still cheating on Ivy, wants to make a good impression on Vanessa, so he goes and he ends up stealing a check out of Barb's checkbook, writing the amount and paying Joshua for the PSP. Chris didn't know a lot, but he did know about video games and video game consoles, so he quickly realized that that console was just regular and ended up canceling the check in the bank. And then Joshua became incredibly belligerent and angry at Chris. But Chris did have someone to talk to. Chris had actually been confiding in his youth pastor at his local church for the previous couple years since all of his nudes were leaked the first time. Her name was Rocky Shoemaker, and she was an absolute gem of a woman who genuinely had an interest in helping Chris. She would provide advice and tried her damnedest to get Chris to go offline entirely. In this instance, though, since money had been exchanged, she told Chris that he needed to go to the police to report Joshua, the Vanessa account, and then also have the Ivy account investigated too to see who was behind it. Rocky went to Barb and Bob Chandler and was like, y'all need to call the fucking police. This is ridiculous. And they did, with the explicit agreement that Vanessa and Ivy were off limits and they would just speak to the police about Joshua because he was their local. They all knew Joshua. Joshua used to carpool with them to therapy. Like, they knew Joshua. So they all go down to the police station. And then Rocky goes in and just drops it all and tells the police all about the two trolls. Basically divulges everything that Chris had been telling her about everything. She even got the police to try to assist in doing a background check to see if Ivy's a real person. By the way, the police were unable to establish any identity for a person named Ivy based on the information she had provided. And this entire ordeal shocked Bob and Barb because they learned that Chris had actually been stealing money from Barb's purse for a very, very long time. Bob especially, Bob was scared that Chris was going to be implicated in a crime himself, so they decided to take Joshua to small claims court and deal with the trolls themselves. It's unknown if that ever happened. Now, Rocky, to her credit, she tried really, really hard to shine a light on all of the troll activities. Once she proved to the Chandlers that Ivy was not a real person, Chris confronted Ivy about it. She then ended up breaking up with him and never talking to him again. Chris would call her hundreds of times for the next 2 days, prompting Ivy to call the Chandler household and talk to Bob and asked him to tell Chris to not contact her anymore. Bob was apparently just as clueless because he kept trying to get Ivy to, not abandon Chris and not go away and try to get them to talk, knowing that she was not actually a real person. Someone in the Sonichu chats then leaked a rumor to Chris that Ivy had committed suicide via hanging. And Chris was kind of sad. He drew a comic of Ivy being trapped in an elevator that crashes, and then the elevator cables actually end up strangling her to death. So in closing of the Ivy and Vanessa sagas, to recap, his childhood friend Joshua was a total shitbag who decided to torture and troll Chris for the lulz. He spent hours cybersexing an autistic man as Vanessa Hudgens in order to con him into buying a fake special edition PSP for a lot of money. So Chris lost Joshua, Vanessa, and his sweetheart Ivy in the course of 1 week. But it didn't matter because the damage had already been done. On May 5th, the leaked video of Chris talking about recycling his semen appeared on fark.com. It got 200,000 views in 24 hours. 3 days later, it was posted on somethingawful.com and received over 1 million views. A couple days after that, a Boston area listener of the Toucher and Rich radio show sent them multiple videos of Chris, including the semen recycling, the one of Chris spanking himself, and more. Tens of thousands of listeners to that episode. Couple days after that, Chris's antics hit the West Coast as the host of the Kevin and Bean show on K-Rock began to discuss him as well. But everything came to a head, no pun intended, a few days later when he was discussed on the Opie and Anthony show on Sirius FM. On May 5th, Chris removed all videos about Ivy from his YouTube channel. Chris then disappeared from the internet for a couple weeks. Chris returned with a YouTube video letting the world know that he's still looking for a girlfriend, but that it will have to be an in-person meeting from here on out.
I wish to make a general statement before I assume with a comical wit. Granted, now I am still a single, legitimate, eligible male. I still am looking for an 18 to 27-year-old, smoke-free, non-alcoholic, non-black woman. But most importantly, she's got to be caring, true, and honest. So, if there are any true, caring, honest women, not any trolls, that wish to look me up and schedule a date, you'll have to find me in person. And also have to be a chance meeting. In which, in that case, I will not be accepting any phone calls or emails. So, you'll just have to push your luck on getting a date with me. So that's just the way life is. So now with that note aside, I wish to commute the new comical wit, which I have just created today. Oh, I am single and lonely, and possibly a bit horny, but that ain't fit for a droll situation, so now we'll just make it corny. I laugh at you stupid trolls. Die! Peace.
The rest of May was a troll extravaganza. Someone told Chris that Clyde Cash had committed suicide. Other trolls began to hack his email and AIM accounts, like AOL Instant Message, uploading previously unseen chats to the internet. The miscreants hacked his YouTube and uploaded pro-gay music videos. Chris's Facebook was hacked, and they changed his profile picture to a still shot from the video of Chris wearing a diaper. A gal pal of his from one of the Sonichu groups helped him regain access to a couple of his accounts. Her name? Kim Wilson. And suddenly there are videos of Chris Chan out in public, drinking alcohol. These videos surfaced online on Kim's YouTube channel. Apparently, she and her friends had been taking Chris out to like Applebee's, Mexican restaurants, and bars. They introduced him to alcohol. One video showed Chris drinking a Long Island iced tea. It was his very first sip of alcohol. Another showed him singing karaoke in a bar. And y'all want to know the fucked up part about all of this? Remember Emily, the girl he actually met and went on a date with? You know, he and Bob went and sat, and then she was whisked away by a pickle suit man. Kim Wilson was Emily. Literally the exact same person. And it's speculated that Chris has some form of prosopagnosia, or total face blindness. There are a considerable amount of people on the autism spectrum who do suffer from this. Basically, cognitively, he can't remember someone's face or any identifying features. Everyone just looks the exact same, and they don't realize that they've met you before. Fun fact, Brad Pitt actually has prosopagnosia. So the more you know. But this female troll was able to go on a lunch date with him in real life, sit directly across from him and Bob for more than an hour, and then resume an in-real-life relationship with Chris as somebody else entirely, with Chris having no idea. At this time, Chris also started pushing out the homophobia again. He released a parody video that he recorded titled, "Don't Trust Any Homos Over There," and I'm gonna play a quick clip for you because clearly this should have won the Grammy.
Hello, my name is Uncle Ruckus, no relation. I'm gonna sing y'all a song I just made up. It's called Don't Trust Any Homos Over There. Sing along if you know the words. Da 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 da. Don't trust any homos over there, leaving their homo stank in the air. Them sappy, flappy, dumb homos with their nigger finger on the trigger. Don't trust any homos over there. Don't trust them crass nostrils over yonder. They suck up so much air, it'll make you wonder. Don't trust any homos with a jabber flipper jabber. Don't trust any homos over there. Woman and man make the babies. Straightway's the way to play. No ifs, ands, buts, or babies. Man play with pussy. They get that ticket to heaven. They stay true from 69 to 11. We be playing hoes over bros every day. We get full pleasure and no sin and pain. Give no pity to them homos. They going straight to hell. Don't trust any homos over there. Don't trust them crass nostrils over yonder. They suck up so much air it'll make you wonder. Don't trust any homos with a jibber jabber flipper jabber and a nigger finger on the trigger. Don't trust any homos over there. Ah!
Around this time, Chris actually becomes active on the Wikipedia page, a subdomain of the Quickie. He writes dozens of articles about himself, his beliefs, his philosophies, and explanations for past behaviors. In July, the troll Liquid Chris returned, making an announcement that he is the copyright holder of Sonichu and that everyone else and the other Chris Chan, is a liar. Of course, this pissed Chris Chan off. And Chris challenges Liquid Chris to a SingStar challenge. And also, side note, do you guys remember the TV channel G4? They used to have a show called Web Soup, which was basically The Soup, but making fun of just random internet videos. Chris was featured there on an actual cable television show. A clip of Chris was actually shown on Web Soup. And here's the thing about Liquid Chris, because Liquid Chris was such a huge part of this period of the Chris Chan story. Liquid Chris was actually kind of hilarious. Like, I suggest that all of you go to YouTube and look up Liquid Chris. It was just this like scrawny white dude who dressed up like Chris. He learned how to perfectly mimic his voice and his mannerisms. And he started to just upload copycat videos to all of the ones that Chris posted. He would learn how to say it in exactly the same voice. He had like a paper cutout of the medallion that Chris wore, and he pretended to be Chris. That's all he did. He would never speak horribly, really, of Chris. He would never just like outwardly put him down. It was just, I'm going to pretend to be you and then fake outrage when you come and say that you're the rightful person. Overall, was it toying with a mentally handicapped person? Yes, and that was wrong. But when you're holding Liquid Chris up against the likes of Blue Spike, the Miscreants, the Idea Guys, and others, in comparison, it's relatively harmless. In comparison to the others in terms of like mental anguish, it was more stressful, but arguably relatively harmless. The month of August is basically Liquid Chris and Chris Chan feuding over who is the real creator of Sonichu, with Liquid Chris posting more satirical videos and Chris becoming angry and responding to them. On August 2nd, trolls posted Chris's car for sale on Craigslist with an incredibly low price. And they listed the Chandler household number as the contact. So a lot of phone calls to the Chandler household. Blue Spike, that evil 13-year-old child, even called the Chandler household and spoke with Chris directly about the car. And you can spot that voice a mile away, but Chris doesn't even pick up on it, doesn't even realize that it's the same person. Bob Chandler would actually go on to discover the videos of the Chandler home that had been posted online. And because the hoarding situation was so bad, Bob would grow irate with Chris because he's worried that the county health inspectors would remove them from the home and condemn it, like deeming it uninhabitable. Chris began to record a video begging people to take the pictures off the internet, and as he's recording, Bob Chandler comes into Chris's room and yells at him. And this is where Robert talks about their house. Gonna play the clip.
This does not even deserve a captain's log introduction, because this is dead serious. The inside and outside tour I did a few months ago of my house, everyone on the internet, my mother and my father are angry at me. They're blaming me. It's my fault. I admit it's my fault. I want everything about my house off the internet. I'll send in detectives. I'll send in police. I'll send in everything in my power to get it off the internet.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Shut that goddamn thing off. I don't care what you do. You get all that stuff off of there tonight.
I'm working on it.
Go work on it.
I am
Do
working.
you realize something? Let me tell you. If the health department of Greene County sees those videos that you put on the damn internet, they could condemn our house and we would have to move out of it.
I
So
see.
you go get that goddamn stuff off of there and fast.
I'm working on it. I was making a YouTube video for you to tell everybody to get the images off of the internet. It's out of my control.
Oh, you get them off.
It's out of my control. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to
You
go.
loaded them up there. You unload them.
I'm working on it.
Go do it.
I am doing it. I'm sorry.
Get in here and do it.
I
I'll be up all night with you if I have to. You won't get any sleep for that stuff.
I'm working on it.
Get in there and start.
I'm working on it. Let me do this stupid video so I can tell everybody at my command to get everything, help me get everything off of the internet about our house.
I don't want to get kicked out of my house by the health department. And what you just did was stick a knife in our back and kill us.
Alright, let me just
Get that stuff off of there.
Get
it off of there fast.
I'm working on it. So yeah, please get everything off of the internet now. Curse the trolls. Peace to everybody else.
The month of September was largely Chris and Liquid Chris just kind of doing their thing, and then the love quest going nowhere. But Chris devised a plan of his own to steal Liquid Chris's girlfriend, Casey. So he began to message Casey pretending to be Liquid Chris, her boyfriend. Messages finally turned into phone calls, and Casey knew what Chris was trying to do all along, but she went along with it anyway. So here's a clip of Chris calling Casey and pretending to be her real-life boyfriend, Liquid Chris. And if you're easily offended by sexual content, or if you have a child nearby, you're probably going to have a bad time here. So feel free to skip ahead. But in the Skype call, Casey asks Chris what he wants to do to her, and, well, it gets really graphic.
Hello?
Hey, honey! Oh my god, it's so good to hear your voice again. It's me, Casey. How are you?
Hey, Case. I'm good. You sound like you've done good.
Call me that. Yeah, I'm so happy because I got to talk to you. I missed you all day today. It sucked being in school. I can't believe it's almost finals.
Oh, yeah, I know. Summer finals, right?
I know. I don't know why I did summer session. It's just, I don't know. You know that I'm really, really into intelligent guys, which is why I love you. And I've, got to do the same. So how's school for you?
Oh, things have been great for me. I just finished the dating episode. It is fantastic.
Oh, well, that's cool. But what does that have to do with school?
In the comics. I felt like finishing it up.
I get what you're saying. Oh, that is so cool.
The dating education episode. It's on the Wikipedia.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to check it out because, that is, of course, what led me to you in the first place. But
yes.
What about actual school? Because I know you had classes today, too.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember our last time together? Our third date?
Date number 3. I've been so busy with studying for the finals. It's just so much of the details are flaking my mind at the moment.
Oh, I know, but it was so magical. I have never, ever been with someone so sensual and just so in tune to me. I cannot wait to see you again. So, maybe you can give me a sneak preview of what you're going to do next time I see you? Please?
I'm going to rock your world, baby.
Oh, Chris, you are so hot. God, I don't know how you do it. So stop teasing me. You've got to give me more.
It just comes natural to me, I guess. I got a deep sensual voice, I definitely got the Bing Crosby tune, baby. I've been raised on music. My dad was a technical engineer, got all them patents and everything.
Oh my God, Chris, I love it when you talk like that. Oh, Chris, your voice just, you know what it does to me. It just gets me so hot.
Oh, yeah.
So, tell me how much you like it when I get hot.
Oh, I'm loving it. I am so loving it.
What are you going to do to me, Chris? I mean, last time was just so wonderful. I know you've got ideas in your head. I know you do.
It'd be like the first time all over again, girl. You know how I enjoyed the first time.
Oh, I know. Just the way you looked
I'd like to. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to repeat that as best as I can. Best of my memory. Even though I've been messing up stuff for the finals and whatever.
So, did you remember what I told you I wanted to do next time?
Oh, shoot.
Chris, how could you forget?
Oh, let me take a guess. You want me to caress your breasts?
That's one of them, but I wanted to do something, a little more adventurous. I mean, I can't believe you forgot because you seem so excited.
I am. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it.
I guess I'll forgive you this time. But, I totally, absolutely wanted you to tie me up and just let me be at your mercy. I mean, doesn't that sound awesome?
Oh, yeah, that does sound fucking awesome.
Okay, well, since I told you that, now you have to tell me what you're going to do to me. Because, come on, I love it when you talk dirty to me.
Talk dirty to me.
Oh, God, please do.
Oh, yeah.
Do it for your sweet little Casey case.
Oh, yeah. You're just gonna love this. You know, I'll be presenting myself to you. You'll be loving my dick. It's so big and all that, you know. And I'll be putting it between your tits while you're all tied up.
So the funny part about this is that Casey and Liquid Chris met each other online. They actually met each other because of the Chris Chan Saga. They were just two trolls hanging out and having fun. They were both trolling Chris Chan and ended up forming a meaningful relationship, meeting in real life and falling in love. And spoiler alert, but they actually got married in 2009 in real life. And Liquid Chris ended up going to med school and is now a popular oncologist in real life. An actual doctor. I shit you not. An actual doctor. But that's where we're going to stop today, y'all. And that's because in the next episode, we're going to go down the Casey rabbit hole. You see, she becomes one of the most hated trolls in the entirety of the overall Chris Chan saga. For a couple different reasons. As a few of you stated in your comments on the Instagram post, there is no winner in this entire story. However, some are worse than others. And we still have a lot of ground to cover. So thank you for listening. As always, if you have any comments, questions, please feel free to leave them as comments on the Instagram post for this episode. Happy to answer and maybe even share it in the next episode as well. So next order of business on Tuesday, I'm actually going to be recording with Iris, and we are going to be covering the Taylor Shabusiness case. This all happened in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and this is the girl who murdered and decapitated the man that she was having an affair with, and it's just so gruesome and sad, and it's been a while since I've seen a woman be so remorseless. But so excited to have Iris join me again. I always have such a blast with her, and I know all of you guys love her as well. So recording with Iris on Tuesday, that episode will be arriving on Wednesday. Beyond that, don't forget to check us out at wesawthedevil.com. From there, you can find all of the social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter. I've started a TikTok, guys. If you're liking this, I'm going to start making some more like Chris Chan videos to go along with episodes. So make sure to like us on TikTok, We Saw the Devil Podcast. And with that, until next crime.